I just stuck a bull. This bull has been sounding gnarly, nasty. On my right, there's two bulls fighting. I can see them going, their bodies moving back and forth between the trees. And then all of a sudden I hear this. There's another bull right there. Walking through his aspens.
I shot him. Did you hear that?
No. Oh. We both just shot the same bull.
I shot him first.
He shot him first. Oh my gosh. What a heck of a pursuit, dude. All freaking day.
When your buddy calls you, says you got a buck down. And what does he got? A buck down.
Look what I found.
What a sweet coos, man. Opening day, heck yeah. Way to go, Steve.
Arizona Archery Club is a premier partner with Bowhunting AZ. When it comes to attention to detail and a fiery passion, Arizona Archery Club brings it all to the table. With all the latest bows and archery equipment, you can demo every single model in person free of charge in their multiple demo rooms. Walk through the process with an experienced bow tech and see which bow is right for you without the sales pressure. Their indoor archery range offers air-conditioned lanes where you can shoot out to 40 yards. Take this awesome opportunity to hone in your accuracy and technique. When you visit, be sure to mention that you're a listener to the Bowhunting AZ podcast. Let's all support local. Conquering your own dark mountain is no easy task. The backcountry requires grit and determination. Having quality supplements like Dark Mountain's Kodiak pre-workout, whey proteins, and nourishing recovery are all an essential part of your success in the journey to harvest from the land. Dark Mountain is a 2% for conservation company because they know that with a collective effort, we can cherish these resources for a long time to come. Use promo code BowhuntingAZ20 for 20% off your order at darkmountain.com. Remember, luck favors hard work. National Automotive Repair is a locally owned and operated auto repair shop in the heart of Phoenix, Arizona. Jake McLaughlin and his team operate their business with a foundation of honesty, quality, and integrity. From routine oil changes to larger mechanical repairs, National Automotive can solve your issues and have you back in operation. The shop is located right off of I-17 and Thunderbird off Sweetwater Avenue, or call Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5:30 at 602-978-3278. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Bowhunting AZ podcast. Today is all about the future of hunting and specifically an awesome program right out of Texas, the Future Hunters Summit. So this Future Hunter Summit's an awesome program. I'll let Alan talk a little bit more about it, but it's really securing the future of hunting today for anybody and anyone that's really interested in hunting itself. So regardless of age or where you come from, what your experience is, but I'll let Alan kind of tease that up more. But without further ado, I want to introduce Alan. He's the general manager of the Lazy CK Ranch in Texas. Alan, thank you so much for giving us your time today and coming on the episode.
Well, Stephen, thank you very much. It's my honor and pleasure to be here. Yeah, I'm excited to talk more about our program and discuss the fine details of that summit.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. To kind of tee things up, I want to do a little bit of a tee up here for us, and that's kind of just talking about what is the Pittman-Robertson Act and what exactly does it have to do with hunting. Now, I know you cover it obviously in your program because you go through the full hunter ed course and everything like that, but to kind of set things in the spotlight here, the Pittman-Robertson Act is known as the Federal Aid and Wildlife Restoration Act. It's a law that helps fund conservation efforts for wildlife and their habitat here in the United States. And the main goal of the Pittman-Robertson Act is just to provide financial support for wildlife conservation and specifically with a focus on game species like deer, elk, antelope, turkey, and migratory waterfowl. The act established a way to basically generate funds for conservation by placing a small tax on hunting and shooting equipment. So when we go to the stores and we buy our guns and bows, all that is has a tax, and it's applied to the firearms, the ammunition, the archery equipment. And then the money collected from these taxes is then distributed to the state wildlife agencies. So for various conservation projects that they have, those funds are divided among states based on the number of like licensed hunters and the land in each of those, the land area in each of those states. Those state wildlife agencies will then use those funds to carry out, habitat restoration, wildlife research, management of the species, land acquisition, and then of course hunter education programs. But the Pittman-Robertson Act has had a huge positive impact on wildlife conservation in the United States. It's really helped restore and protect habitats. It's increased the overall populations of all of our native game species, and it's enhanced hunting opportunities for men, women, and youth. So the law generates funds for wildlife conservation through a tax on hunting and shooting equipment. Funds are then transferred to the state. The state agencies then support conservation that benefit both the wildlife and hunters. Alan, as a hunter, why do I care if future generations get into hunting? What's the point of hunting recruitment?
Oh, it's wildly important. As you're aware, and I'm sure our guests are aware, our average age of our hunters, in the Lazy CK case, our clients are getting older. They're aging out, and if we don't get these young people involved, or younger people, or not even younger people, but new people involved in our activity, it's going to die. And if that happened, if it eventually ages out, we don't have the number of hunters to sustain the conservation aspects that we need through the Pittman-Robertson Act, through the conservation aspect of that, and the other things that they're doing. We're in deep trouble. It's all about the hunters. There's an old saying that says, the hunters are the first and only conservationists. I don't think they're the only conservationists, but they're the best. It's extremely important.
Absolutely. How does hunting benefit the species themselves? Right. Obviously, like there's terms thrown around called we're the stewards of the land and things like that. What role does our hunting have an impact on the population and all that stuff? Like what benefit is to the animal for that?
Well, let me not get too philosophical on you here, okay? But this is what I believe, and this is what I know to be true. When people talk about how hunters are conservationists, this is what they mean. Let me turn this question back around on you for just a second, Stephen. Do you believe that everything revolves, most every motivation is backed by the dollar?
Yes and no.
Right? So let me give you an example. Let's take that article that I wrote for the Safari Club magazine that'll be on our blog at some point, called "The Tale of the Three Amigos." Okay, and this was the Addax antelope, the Dama gazelle, and the scimitar horned oryx, sub-Saharan species from Africa. They were brought over to the United States to breed and hunt, and a piece of legislation put them on the CITES. And so there was a whole bunch of, I'm shortening this down. Okay, this is a whole article, but they were put on the CITES, and what that means is places like ours, or anytime you wanted to hunt one, the outfitter had to go through a whole bunch of paperwork and make sure all the tagging was right and all of this and that, right? Well, what they saw was the numbers of those species started dropping dramatically. Okay. Well, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife got involved, and they got that legislation reversed eventually after various amounts of lawsuits, et cetera, et cetera. Once that happened, you saw the populations start booming all over the state of Texas again. And so and the reason why that's important is this: we're not a non-for-profit. I don't know any hunting ranch that truly is a non-for-profit, right? So if we don't have people coming here that can go hunt the scimitar, we're not going to have the scimitar. If we have to jump through a million hoops and all of this paperwork and all of this stuff, and it makes it less efficient or not cost effective to have them here, we're not going to have them. So that's what happened. And people started selling their herds off, and the numbers just dwindled. Okay. They repeal that, or they got that piece of legislation removed, and all of a sudden it explodes again. And now if you're going to hunt those, you can't even hunt. They're trying reintroduction of those species over in Africa, and it's not working. They're being poached out. You cannot hunt those species anywhere else but here. And if we didn't have dollars and clients' pockets to come hunt those, we wouldn't have them. So that's kind of the long version of why all of this is so important. Take your native species. It's a huge tax generator for the state of Texas and other states, right? But there's also a population aspect to it too. We have our population, our human population growth is exploding. Everybody that's ever going to listen to this thing can drive past where they used to grow up, and there's a target that used to be a hayfield that they used to play in or haul hay in or whatever. And so these populations, these animal populations, they're being more consolidated down, and that causes a lot of population growth and genetic issues, and my God, all kinds of issues, right? So without the hunters' tax dollars going into that for population control and things like that, those animals are not going to have sustainable habitats. There's too many mouths to feed. There's too much work to do that only comes from the tax dollar. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was perfectly put. It kind of seems, and there's more examples outside of this, but it seems there's two examples of individuals that I kind of have run into and that I've seen around. And let's give an example of someone named James. James grew up in rural Iowa. He hit the woods by age 6 with his dad. His dad was a hunter. His dad's dad was a hunter. James took his first whitetail deer at age 9. He's been hunting whitetail every year since then, and he'll pass it on to his kids. So that's one example. Our second one is, Lisa. She grew up just outside of suburban Chicago. She was familiar with that there's deer hunting in the area, but never took the time to get involved. She loves the idea of it. Outdoor centric gal. Maybe she likes to hunt, camp, or fish, camp, and stuff like that. But she has no idea where to begin, and never had any family that hunted for themselves. Simply, there just wasn't anyone to teach her, so she never got involved. So going forward into the further segments here, like we're going to kind of keep those two people in mind. And that's kind of really what this Future Hunters Summit program was created for, was for James can attend, and he's more than welcome to, or maybe he wants to get his kid formal training through this program. But I feel like it was kind of with the Lisas in mind, where they just never had anybody really to teach them. It seems like there's been all walks that have attended the camp, and it's been an awesome experience. But let's talk about some of the benefits of self-sufficiency, right? Because that's where a lot of people today, especially some of the older demographic that are starting to get into it, the people that are in their maybe 30s and so forth, kind of approach it from a self-sufficiency standard, right? It seems kind of hip and cool these days to be able to be like, yeah, I could go out and totally provide for myself, and I know where my food's coming from. And that's a big hot topic today in the world of hunting. Explain the concept behind self-sufficiency in hunting and the importance of it in the world today.
Yeah, I think you kind of blended two things together on that, but I'll touch on the first one first. The self-sufficiency thing, here's the reality. I think people are scared, and I think they should be. This is not a political podcast, okay, but I think that people are worried, and in the back of their mind somewhere they're thinking, well, what am I going to do if the proverbial stuff hits the fan? what's going to happen. And it feels like everything all the time in our everyday lives are just, I don't know if you can feel it or if you think it, but I know a lot of people, myself included, you've got this tingly feeling underneath your skin, like we're headed towards something. I don't know what that is. And I think that probably, there was a certain segment of the population that kind of always thought that. I remember doing bomb drills in the 80s in elementary school because the Russians were coming. I remember it like it was yesterday. I mean, kids these days do different drills in schools, but anyway, the self-sufficiency aspect, I think, is probably a primal biological need to provide should something hit the fan. And I think it's very real. It's a very visceral feeling. And I think that a lot of people have it. A lot more people are becoming aware that of their own need to be able to do that.
Absolutely. I remember specifically probably about halfway through COVID, and specifically just outside of COVID after the whole thing kind of happened and stuff with the pandemic and all that. But I mean, I recall very specifically meat prices just skyrocketing.
Yeah.
And man, it was nice for me as a hunter to have, 2 to 3 deep freezers, chest freezers, just full of meat. Like I could have cared less. It didn't affect me whatsoever. So just from that standpoint and that application right there, it was really nice to have that peace of mind. And it was something I was never worried about.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I think that, a lot of people, I think you touched on the coronavirus. I think that was probably the wake up call for a lot of people. That's exactly how we started the Future Hunter Summit. I know we're going to probably get into that later, but we'll circle back to that one. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And there's no better feeling knowing as a person, as a, in your case, in my case, as a father with a family, hey, we can, we're going to be okay. We're going to be able to make it for a while anyway. Or a mom, or a brother or a sister. I can do this. I can provide if should I need to.
Absolutely. Yeah. That definitely speaks, I think, to the last couple of points that I had here, which was just how does becoming self-sufficient as a hunter contribute to the conservation efforts? Well, it sustains through the Pittman-Robertson Act. It provides for the future generations by supporting financially the state agencies and stuff. And then obviously it provides for ourselves as well. Gets us a little more reliant on us, less on commercial sources. We don't have to worry about meat on the shelves in the store necessarily, or if we do, not as much at least. So it's just a little bit more of like a cleaving, a little bit more self-sufficiency, and it just benefits the herd and us. How did the Future Hunters Summit come to fruition?
Okay. So, during let's go back to the pandemic. Well, first, let's go back before that. I think it was 2016. I read an article from the Wall Street Journal that talked about how, it was very doom and gloom. The hunting numbers are dwindling. The age of the average hunter is getting older. The sport, if you want to call it that, is in major jeopardy. And it was a very well written article. At the end, or towards the end, it talked about maybe the one saving grace of this whole thing was that there had been a spike in millennials, which I don't know, what is that, 1982 to 90 something, whatever it is. So these are, at the time, these are people in their mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s, picking up crossbows because there was this huge movement, Whole Foods is becoming a major thing. And there's this whole movement of people wanting to know where their food comes from. And so we fast forward to the pandemic, and like we talked about before, this gets everybody's antenna up. Everybody's on alert. Oh man, this is bad. The prices are ridiculous. What's going to happen? You're reading all of this stuff about the supply chain and all of this stuff, and we had a guy call us out of the blue. The pandemic, we, like everybody, took that very seriously, but we didn't shut down, so to speak. We did for 30 days or 60 days, and then we kind of opened back up and just said, okay, well, if you can come, you're going to wear PPE, but we're going to be safe, but you guys can come and hunt. And a lot of people did, because Canada was shut down completely. Mexico was shut down completely. You weren't flying overseas. You wanted to come and hunt. You were going to come to Texas to do it. So we had a guy call us probably October, I think it was October, and said, hey, I've always wanted to know how to do that, but I've never done it. If I come and pay for a hunt, will you teach me? And I said, absolutely. Yeah, come on. You bet. We've got guns and ammo, and come on. And he did. And he just was glowing. He was star student. Okay, so there's light bulb number one. Fast forward a couple more months to December of that year, after the election, a guy calls and says, hey, I just moved to Austin. I was on the Trump campaign. We didn't win. I lost my job and I moved to Austin, and looking for a job. It's really tough right now. I've always wanted to learn how to hunt. Will you teach me? And that was it. I mean, now after that, it was like, okay, well, we have to do something here that we can teach people what we take for granted. Back to your example, everybody here, everybody that works here, we all kind of take it all for granted, what we learned how to do from a very young age. We didn't even know we were being taught. We were just going with granddad to hunt because that's what he did. I started developing this curriculum, and I said, okay, well, first of all, let's start with our mission. What's our mission? Well, our mission is to take you however long this ends up being, whatever kind of curriculum we put in here. Our mission is to get somebody through, give them a certificate at the end, and watch them drive out of the gate fully confident that they can go anywhere in this country and maybe overseas and know what they're doing. Have all the confidence in the world that they can book a hunt and go on a hunt and handle it all, should they need to do that. Certainly that's not what we're doing here on our day-to-day, and I thought about that too. And I know we might get into this later, but we do have a lot of guests. We have hunters that have hunted all over the world that will come through our program because they'll be honest and say, well, it's been 25 years since I've ever had to gut my own animal. I go to places like yours and the guy does it for me while I have a cocktail or a beer. I want to learn. I want to relearn how to do that. I want to relearn how to track. I want to relearn how to, more firearm stuff. I pick up my rifle. I go hunting. I put it back in there. I need to learn that. I always wanted to learn archery. Can you teach me that? So anyway, that's how it all started. And we developed this curriculum and really drilled down on what, if that's our mission, if we want people confident, how are we going to get them there? And then we built it backwards from the mission.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you kind of give us an overview of the 6 days during the Future Hunter Summit?
Yeah, absolutely. So we decided that since this is more of a classroom, not a classroom, it's more of an educational setting than a recreational trip. Obviously, everybody has a lot of fun. We needed to have a few specifics in there. It's not really fair to everybody else or yourself. If you're going to try to show up a couple of days later, you have to leave a couple of days early. So we said, okay, there's a couple of hard and fast rules to get everybody through this program. We want you here Monday by noon. We're gonna do an introduction. I'm gonna pass out the itinerary. We're gonna eat lunch, and then we're gonna jump right into hunter safety. Even if you already have it, it doesn't hurt to sit through it again. Everybody always ends up learning something that they didn't. So we do hunter safety on the first afternoon. Plenty of time to socialize and stuff like that. The next morning, each week is designed for 10 hunters. So we split 5 of them up. 5 go to the archery range, 5 go to the rifle range. At the archery range, we're measuring them out. We're measuring the guests out, finding a draw weight that they're comfortable with, tuning these bows up, and letting them learn archery the right way. And people love that. It's one of the most talked about things. Most people have never picked up a bow before. At the rifle range, we start with safety and ethics, and then we get into sending live rounds downrange. Everybody goes through all of that. We have a state-of-the-art gun range that, we have these cameras that set up in front of the targets out to 600 yards. You shoot, and then you look up at the screen, and you can see where your bullet hit. Then we have lunch, and then we come back and we do some field training on the Texas hunter safety. We go through a few shoot, don't shoot scenarios, things to think about when you're out there. And then we come back in and take the test. Everybody passes the test. We've taught them everything they need to know. And then we go into shot placement class. And usually that's our hunting manager that teaches the shot placement class where, he's quartering towards you, he's quartering away, broadside, front leg, back, forth, where's the perfect place to try to place your shot every time. So we can be ethical and responsible hunters. And that's what we all want to do, right? We want to take the picture, but we don't want the animals to suffer at all. So we need to be ethical that way too. So then we socialize and have dinner. Wednesday, other half archery, other half gun range, lunch. During lunch, the guides go out and they'll harvest usually a female species of an animal that our populations are getting high on, like a black buck doe or a fallow doe or a cyca doe or an axis doe, or a whitetail doe if it's in season. They won't touch it. They'll bring it right to the skin and shed. After lunch, we take everybody up to the skin and shed, and our guides teach them. They sit there and they watch, or they stand there and they watch, and we teach them how to cape, skin, and gut it all the way out. And that's important because they're going to do it on their own later on in the week. And then we come back into the lodge, get some cool drinks, and they go into a gear class. Usually that's taught by Numa, our camo sponsor. Great company. They'll bring somebody in and they'll go through not just their gear. They'll talk about the different fabrics and why you need different fabrics and moisture wicking fabrics and merino wool and what all this stuff is and what specific areas you would need it, what situations you would need it. You're going on an elk hunt to Colorado and you need these merino wool socks, and this is why, and et cetera, et cetera. So they always bring a bunch of gear and they'll give away some gear, and it's awesome. Then we socialize in dinner, and then Thursday morning is where the proverbial, rubber meets the road. It's time to hunt. And so you're paired up with another student. Like I said, there's 10 students, so everybody's got a buddy. And Hunter 1 is going to shoot that morning. Hunter 2 is going to observe, and the guide is going to be with them. And then they switch the next day. So Hunter 1 shoots, Hunter 2 is watching all of this happen. And they bring their harvest back, and then they've got to cape, skin, and gut it themselves. And the guide's going to be there with them. The guide's always there with them, but they've got to do all that themselves. And they love that part. Absolutely love that part. They didn't think they could do it. The confidence that people have. And when we've had guys talk about how I don't know if I can do this, I might pass out. And we say, okay, well, don't. Then if you want to give it a shot, and everybody's passed with flying colors on that, really, really gives them a lot of confidence. And it's an awesome thing to watch. So then we bring them back in that afternoon after everybody's done, and we teach them first aid and hunter pack basics. So this is usually one of our guides that most all of our guides are hunting kind of all over the country or the world, and they'll bring in their pack and they'll unload their pack and they'll talk about every little thing that they bring with them and why. Again, hugely popular with the students. Friday morning, same thing. That was Thursday night. Friday morning, same thing. Now the other student's shooting, the other one's observing, same thing. The difference after lunch that day, everybody's shot out now. Everybody's done. Everybody's learned how to cape, skin, and gut. We have a professional butcher come in, and he will teach them. They'll hang one of the carcass that we have. He'll hang it, and he'll teach them quartering and processing, meat prep, and care. Takes a couple of hours, but he talks about every cut, everything you do. If you're going to do this by yourself, you want to take your animal home, and do all of this you can. And he teaches them how to do it. And it's kind of mind blowing for people. Oh, that's where the ribeye comes from. Oh, that's oh, that's where that steak comes from. That's what that cut means. I order that all the time. I didn't know. So that's a really great thing. And then they'll take, usually the back straps and the heart or something. And the chef will then bring the whole class in on Friday night, and he or she will teach them how to cook this wild game. And that's pretty much it. Saturday morning, wake up. It's, anybody that wants to go shoot at the range again or go shoot bows again or whatever they want to do. Then they get their lunch, their end of class survey and their certificates, and they're driving out of the gate fully confident that they can go hunt.
That's awesome. I really like particularly the part where you talked about post hunt and the role of the participants once the animal's down. That speaks to me a lot, because I remember I was 29 when I shot my first deer, right? And on my hunt, I had shot this buck, little spike buck that came into 100 yards, and shot him with my AR-10. I didn't even have a hunting rifle. Shot him with my AR-10 with the 308, and I had this animal down in front of me, and I go, crap, what do I do now? And I literally had to FaceTime a buddy with cell service, prop my phone up on a cactus and point it at me and go, I don't know how to gut this thing. What am I doing? And he's just dying laughing, walking me through it on FaceTime, telling me how to do this thing. But this is literally a pretty much holding the hand walkthrough guide over your shoulder as these participants are doing it themselves. They're doing the harvesting, obviously, but the processing, and you said they cook it alongside a chef. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that we also there's some other nuanced stuff in there. That was kind of a broad overview of what we're doing, but we also teach firearms cleaning. So how to properly clean your firearm or wax your bow strings, and et cetera, et cetera. But that's interesting that was your experience. I imagine that that's one of the barriers, right? People are like, well, I want to go hunt and I can probably figure out how to do this, but then what do I do? And then what do I do? And then what do I do? There's just a lot of knowledge to gain. But as you know, you can gain that knowledge pretty quick and become a hunter.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And what's cool is, like, a lot of, for instance, the example I gave of a guy named James that grew up hunting. He goes through seasons and seasons typically with his dad or with his grandpa and accumulates all this knowledge over multiple seasons and deer camps and stuff like that. Whereas I think it speaks a lot to the fact of this is all done in 6 days with you guys. So you're taking James's lifelong lessons and consolidating them into just 6 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I remember when we developed this thing, I thought, wow, this is going to be great. And sure enough, there are other sort of programs out there now that do similar things, but I don't know of one that is as encompassing as ours. And of course, I'm not trying to just promote our stuff. I want people to go out and hunt and go through these. I think the FTW has a wonderful shooting school. I know that Brittany Boddington has a girls, a women's. They're not going this in depth, but they teach a lot of things. Firearms. The WOMA organization with Deb Ferns, they're teaching a lot of firearms stuff. So in anything like that people can go and do and gain the knowledge that they need, I'm 100% all for it.
Yeah, absolutely. What characteristics do you see kind of develop and embody in the participants when they walk away from this program?
You mean what do I see as they leave versus when they came in?
Yes.
Oh, I think the biggest thing is the confidence. Okay, I think that the people's confidences are through the roof when they're leaving. That is the feedback I get from every single person. But I also believe that people leave with maybe a new respect for animals and ethically harvesting those animals and the responsibility that we have to them habitat and all sorts of things. Sustainable hunting practices as well. So yeah, I think there's a lot. I think that if people were honest with you when they left here, their whole world has sort of changed when it comes to. I know for a fact for a couple of the people that have come through here, they wanted to learn this stuff, but they really didn't believe that they were, number one, going to learn anything, and number two, it was going to change their mind. They weren't going to be hunters. They kind of, maybe I need to learn this stuff, but I'm not going to. This isn't me. I'm still going to grocery shop, and every single one of them is left with the bug, as we call it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's kind of dive into what are some of the specific skills and knowledge that the participants will gain during the program, just beyond harvesting the animal.
Well, I think, I touched on some of those to get in deeper. I think, being able to identify what a good shot is. Okay. I think that's huge. Certainly tracking, blood tracking, different types, what that looks like, how it looks, how to identify it. So that process too, how long do I wait after I shoot? Things like that. The processing stuff, the cooking thing, the firearms handling, safety, and feeling more confident around firearms. They're not going away in our country, thank God. People, have a new respect and a feel for that stuff. I think that there's a lot of skills and knowledge that they learn in 6 days. Certainly, they need to keep using it, just like anything else. But I believe that they're possessing a lot more than when they got here.
Yeah. How important is it to kind of understand wildlife behavior? Like you were talking about tracking and stuff like that. Like, what are you relaying to the participants in terms of, okay, like this is the shot that you made, this is what is correlated after this and stuff like that? Do you guys kind of go in depth with them about that as well?
Well, yeah. But what do you mean by that?
I guess just in terms of like you were touching on, like, okay, how long do you wait? This is, if for instance, you've got different types of blood that you can find and track with them. I think you guys had mentioned like you do a mock blood track, right? You actually go out and have them track actual blood and kind of set up a couple different scenarios. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, no, we do that for sure. To get people's eyes trained to, and some people, it's like finding arrowheads. Some people are really good at it right away. And some people, it takes time. Honestly, I'm not the best at it. My 9-year-old son, he's really good at it. He can spot. His eyes are better than mine. The understanding the wildlife behavior. So we talk about the rut for these animals and what that is, and what that means, and how these animals act and react. We talk about moon phases. Certainly, as a bow hunter, that's as you know, that's very important to us. We talk about how these animals react in different situations with different animals around them. One of the main things we talk about is how to keep yourself calm. I don't know how. I know every hunter's different. As you know, had been chasing a huge axis, free-range axis for 3 years, and finally got them done Sunday morning with my bow. And my wife asked me if you were nervous, and I said, "Well, hell yeah, I was shaking like a limb on a tree in the wind, absolutely." But that's why I do it. That's 100% why I do it. But I'm doing breathing things, and I'm focused, and so we talk about that stuff. This is going to happen to you. The quote unquote buck fever is probably going to happen to you. How are you going to react to that? Things like that. So there's, like I said, it's more nuanced than just the itinerary states, but we are teaching all of that stuff. We're trying to get people aware of it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I like too that, the program really sets them up for success in the sense of like you're going into things with them. Like you said, you're touching on the clothing, right? That's the big thing. Okay, well, I'm going to go out and do my first hunt on my own. And what do I need to wear? If, climate's different, am I going, above tree line, or am I doing a, early August OTC hunt in Arizona and it's 100 degrees? What kind of clothes do I need to wear? I think it's cool that some of the guides there set people up for success just, outside of the program as well, but that the program really just all encompasses everything, it sounds like.
That's what our goal is. And that's why we kind of left. We honestly, we could condense it down, and I might, from, 6 days, 5 nights into like 4-3 or something, or 5-4 maybe, but we left that Saturday morning open. Hopefully everybody shot out. If they're not, they're going to be Saturday morning. But for things that pique their interest. So we'll have a lot of people say, well, can we go back up to the skin and shed, grab my animal, and you can help me break it, quarter it down? I want to take it with me. I feel like I'm really going to be a bow hunter, and I want to go shoot archery more, which is awesome. Can we go back up to the gun range? I want to shoot a few more times with my rifle that I brought, or can you help me sight it in, or, whatever. So that's why we left that Saturday morning kind of open like that. But yeah, we're trying to, we're trying to offer them as much of this stuff as we can, from our brains to theirs.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's great that, just to summarize some of the key benefits, but one, you're getting your hunter education. So you get that certificate out of it, right? A lot of some states have requirements to even apply for stuff, to have your hunter education. Then you're getting your in-class knowledge of ethics, right? Shoot or don't shoot. If I'm going to take this shot, this is what I need to do. And this is what, coincides with taking this shot. You're getting the backcountry knowledge if that's something that you decide to pursue after the course. You're getting your processing, your gutting, your skinning, the cooking knowledge. That's all the takeaways basically from this entire program, which I think is extremely valuable. Plus, you're walking away with like a little bit of a sense of confidence. You're getting your self-sufficiency. You're seeing that you can become this self-sufficient hunter. And really just kind of holding your hand through the process and giving you that sense of confidence through the whole thing. You're obviously playing your role in conservation and going forward. So now you've become a participant in the conservation model for the United States, which is awesome. And then hopefully you're taking that knowledge and you're sharing it with, future generations, whether it's your own children or whether it's, somebody else's. Maybe you're sponsoring somebody else's kid, matching them dollar for dollar to come to this program or something like that. But hopefully you're spreading that knowledge and passing it on to future generations as well.
Yeah. And you get to take the meat home.
Yeah. Yep. And you get to take some darn good meat home. That's for sure.
Yeah. We usually take it to our processor. They came in and taught the class, and they'll do it however you want. They'll ship it right to your door frozen, just like we do with our clients. So that's not if people are listening like, I want to go, but I can't take it with me, don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get it to you.
Yeah. Yep. So basically you're learning a lifetime of information in just 6 days, something that's typically handed down just from generation to generation. 6 days, you're in there, and by the time you come out, you're fully ready to go. You've already got your first animal under the bag if you've never harvested one yet. You had mentioned too, you guys kind of do a gift bag as well for some of the participants. Is that right?
Yeah. Our sponsors, provide us with swag. Right now it's Savage, Hornady. Oh my God. If I forget one of them, they're going to kill me. Apex coolers, Numa, who am I forgetting? Hogue knives. So, Faradyne. So these sponsors are, you'll go on with our Loophole. You'll go home with swag. So a pair of binos maybe, and some Hornady ammo and a cleaning pad, and Savage will provide some optics or something like that. And Hogue will give you a knife, and so Numa's going to provide you some gear. Apex is going to provide you some, cooler cups, tumblers, things like that. That's a bonus too.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. If listeners wanted to participate in the next Future Hunter Summit, when can they do that?
Well, the very next one, we have I think we have a few spots left. I know we have a few spots left for our July camp. I believe that is July 17th through the 22nd, 2023. And then we'll have 3 weeks next year. The what we call the open week. Okay. And that's for anybody that wants to come. It's not a kids camp. So actually in that week, we've had a 9-year-old, a CFO, a lawyer, a marketing specialist, a nurse, all together, all in the same class. It's so cool to watch, all learning, all different skill levels, all different, a couple of those people, a couple of our people are pretty accomplished hunters that go through our course, really, but still learn a lot. So that's June 3rd through the 8th, 2024. And then we have our Women's Week just for the ladies. July 8th through the 13th of 2024. And then we have what we call Industry Week. And that was designed for our sponsors or for anybody that's in the industry. You would be surprised, or listeners would maybe be surprised or not to know that there are a lot of people involved with these. I mean, these are big companies, Savage and Loophole and Hornady. And, these are huge companies that even as non-hunters you've heard of. And some people on their teams need this experience. They need to go do this. They don't have this experience. They're marketing experts, or they're finance people, or they're attorneys, or whatever. Right. So we started that. It's not exclusive to industry. So if you're like, well, I'm not in the industry, but I'd like to learn, and those are the only dates I can come, absolutely come. It's fine, but that's why we designed that. So we have 3 weeks in 2024. We still have spots open in July 2023.
Okay, perfect. What is the cost of the program, and is there a deposit? How does that kind of all work?
Yeah, so it's $2,500 per student, which is that, the total value of that hunt and stay is over $6,000, but we were able to get it to that price point because of our sponsors. Thank them again. And then we take a $1,300 deposit per student. So it's $2,500 total, $1,300 deposit to secure your spot. Got it.
Perfect. And then participants need some sort of hunting license or anything like that to get that through TPW?
They can get it here too. We have the machine here. We can get it for them. They can get it through the website. If they're a Texas resident, you can buy it right on the app now. All the states are going to that, so you don't have to keep up with all the paperwork. It's fully legal. It fully counts. They have a digital tagging system too. But on that note, when they're here in the summertime, we'll be hunting exotics. It's not whitetail season. That's the only species that we have on the ranch that has a season is the whitetail. So they won't need any special tags or anything like that. Just a regular non-resident exotic hunting license. I think right now is $68 per person. Yeah, they'll need that too.
Perfect. Well, awesome. Alan, I want to just thank you for coming on to the podcast and kind of sharing more about the program. I know it's been a lot around on social media and stuff. I know I've shared it quite a few times. I know a couple other local channels have shared it, and some Texas channels have shared it. So I really like obviously I like the idea of it. I think hunter recruitment is a big thing. Obviously, being somebody that came into hunting at 29 years old, it spoke to me definitely. And I just figure, heck, if it's something that I thought was cool, there's definitely got to be other people out there that would like to know about it as well. So I would really encourage the listeners, like if this is something that interests you, maybe you've had, a girlfriend or a wife too, that's been interested. Like I would like to send my wife to the Women's Week because I think that she would do better in just an all female environment. Little less pressure from me. Obviously now I'm a little bit more seasoned. I take it very seriously now. And so my level of tenacity might be a little overwhelming for her. So sending her sending her to something like the Women's Week would probably be something really beneficial and a lot more laid back than the experience that I could give her.
Yeah, it's definitely a different learning environment there for them for that reason,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool. What are some of the contact information that you can provide us? Phone number there for the office or web address or anything?
Yeah, so you can visit lazyckranch.com and then search Future Hunter Summit. It's all over our website there. You can call us here in the office at 830-640-3200. or you can send us an email, businessoffice@lazyckranch.com. And we'd be happy to help you answer any questions and get you booked for our next Future Hunter Summit.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. So before we sign off, give us the story on the access that you were pursuing. So I had heard you talk about this buck before. You had a relationship with him, and then just the other day you sent me some photos to kind of show obviously the end result. But what was the story behind this whole thing? Because I've been lucky to harvest an archery access, and so I can only imagine having a relationship with one for that amount of time and then finally accomplishing it.
Yeah, so I'm glad that my 9-year-old son isn't going to hear this. He loves to sit in the bow blind with me, and I'm not a huge blind hunter, but in this scenario, in this situation, it's the only option I have. So it's coming into my brother's place. He lives down on the river and hunt, and I've been watching him. I'd been at full draw on this axis, I think 2 times. Comedy of errors. I mean, one time my arrow, I didn't have the knock all the way set. So when I go to draw back, my arrow falls out. Yeah, I'm an experienced hunter, Steven, and this stuff still happens. Okay?
I'm laughing because it's relatable. Yeah. I've had things like this happen.
One time, the wind had kind of collapsed my blind a little bit. Oh, and when I go to draw, I literally can't draw I can't go to full draw. My arm is hitting the back of the blind. And so when I stick my left arm forward to get my right arm back to go to full draw, my bow is half sticking out of the blind. And it was one chirp and gone. Oh, see ya, So one time he winded me, all of these things matter when you're bow hunting. But we'll fast forward to my son and I are sitting there Friday night, and the whole herd comes in, and there's this smaller, older herd bull. Okay, there's a lot of access around, a lot, and we need the meat. We're out. Okay, we have like 2 packages left. This is all my family eats, and so we're gonna harvest something. And I was gonna harvest a doe, but I knew that this herd bull is gonna keep this bigger bull, still a mature bull, but for some reason he's just kicked his butt and he's kept him away. And so I told Wyatt, "Hey, we're gonna harvest this herd bull, and then we'll give it a couple of weeks. Then the big bull will come in. He'll be with the herd, and we'll get a chance at him." So I go to full draw on the herd bull on Friday night, or it was Friday night or Saturday morning, it was Saturday morning. They all came in, and as soon as I do that, little man here, he is all bouncing all over his chair. He's his head's up and it's down and it's left and it's right, and you can imagine it. He wants to see. Dad just went to full draw. He wants to see this shot. He's so pumped. Well, there was an axis doe standing right to our left, probably 4 yards outside of our blind, and saw him moving, I think, and chirped, and they were gone. I mean, I couldn't even have got my finger to the trigger fast enough. And so I let down, and he's pretty disappointed. "Dad, what do you think happened? What do you think happened?" And I said, "I don't know, man. I think they just winded us. What happens. I didn't want to tell him what I really thought, but he's got a birthday party Sunday morning. He can't go with me. And I asked him in the truck on the way home, I said, "Hey, if I go Sunday morning and I shoot that bull, are you going to be upset with me? Because I won't go. I go as much for him as I do for me. I love going with him." And he said, no, I, do it. Because I know that there are other bulls going to come in, and we'll get one together, And I said, okay. So I went Sunday morning, and I'm sitting there 15 minutes, and a couple of white-tailed does come in, and this big bull, the one that we were trying to get to, walks straight down off of this ravine, straight down the hill, right into this little protein block I had set up. And he's standing right in front of me, 18 yards, looking right at me. He can't see me in there. He can't smell me. I got the wind right. Everything's perfect. And I grab my bow, and the whole time I'm thinking, Wyatt is going to kill me. And he turns broadside, and I sent it, and he went, 40 yards, double lunged him, shot him a little bit high, a little bit back. Wasn't the best shot. I was literally shaking been bow hunting pretty much my whole life. And I still get that buck fever. And anyway, I heard him crash. I couldn't see him. And my first thought was, oh my gosh, I got him. I've been chasing him forever. All the comedy of errors ran through my head. And my second thought was, my son is going to kill me.
Now you've got to answer to somebody, right?
I got home and I sent pictures, so he knew, and he was so excited. He was bouncing off the walls. He was very, very, very happy. So I was off the hook, but he did make me promise that we could go back next weekend and take another one. And I said, absolutely. We need to meet. We can do that. So.
That's so awesome. That's awesome that you're sharing those, experiences with him, that you're getting him out there, and that he's just happy to be a part of it. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. What's funny at his age right now is his favorite thing to do is to track the blood. He loves getting down there with the dog and tracking the blood. He is really good at it. So it's fun to watch him do that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Alan. I really appreciate your time. Congratulations again on that harvest. That's awesome that you finally completed that and came full circle with it. Anything else you'd like to say before signing off here?
No, thank you for what you do and your podcast and what you're trying to accomplish there too. I really appreciate you having me on, and I look forward to doing this again sometime.
Awesome. Sounds good, man. Well, thank you again, and have a good one.
You too. See you.
All right. Hey guys, I just kind of want to ride the coattails of this conversation here with some applicable numbers. So the economic, report for 2020 just came out in terms of hunting and everything. Arizona in 2020 had a total of 297,000 hunters, which was over 668 million to the economy. It supported over 5,000 jobs, over $440,000 in retail sales, and a combined $88 million in combined taxes. And then for Texas, they had $2.7 billion on hunting related purchases. There was a total of 1.2 million hunters. So it really goes to show and speak that we are a collective effort in terms of conservation. We support it a ton. There's over 15 million hunters total in the U.S. And in total for 2020, we spent a collective $49.4 billion just on hunting purchases alone. So keep supporting those companies, whether it's local, whether it's national brands. We're all continuing to chip in together on conservation, and we're securing the future of hunting. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you so much for listening to the Bowhunting AZ podcast. Please be sure to subscribe to the podcast, smash those 5 stars on iTunes, and leave a little review at the bottom. It'll really help us out. For our short films, go subscribe over on YouTube. Just search Bowhunting AZ. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Bowhunting AZ. Good luck to everyone this season. We'll catch you in the next episode.